always at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. We've had an exciting week, exciting Thursday, and now an exciting Friday because you are right in the midst of the Friday frenzy here on the 49ers Cutback. You've already seen the Madden simulation. Now you get the daily news update video. Don't worry, Jay and the Bay will be coming up soon at 2 p.m.
True.
And then Know Your Opponent at 5:30.
With Lawrence Owens from Colts Law Podcast and Believe in Colts Podcast. This is a very fun conversation we got coming up later today and Know Your Opponent. So make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Hit that like button as well and that notification bell. Be notified for all of this great content. Because if you were here for the Madden simulation and now you're back for this, you're already into the thick of it. You might as well just stay into the thick of it and enjoy the rest of the frenzy that we got coming your way. There's a lot of great stuff. But we got to talk about these player updates and what's going on with this 49ers. There's some Givens news as well to get into and some Colts stuff as well, some Colts updates. But first and foremost, DNPs from practice on Thursday. You had Kinlaw, who was a DNP, Trey Lance, who's a DNP, and Trent Williams still dealing with an ankle sprain injury. Concerned about any of those three, maybe a little more now worried about Trent Williams. The rumor is and the report is that he's supposed to be able to go today in practice. The idea is that he can practice today, which is good news if he can because he'll be playing then Sunday. But are you getting a little worried?
No, I think because the injury probably happened in the last football game, which means he's going to have 2 weeks, to get ready. And if this wasn't a high ankle sprain, they'd be talking IR. It's not a high ankle sprain, it's a low ankle sprain, which means he's going to be able to tape it up. He's going to be able to get out there and play. The fact that he can practice today would be a huge sign and a move in the right direction. I think that Trent Williams is going to play. I think his comments earlier in this week really told the story of what how he feels he needs to produce for this team, and he's going to go out there and do it. So no, I'm not too worried about Trent Williams. I'm a little worried about Javon Kinlaw. I'm hoping for at least a limited practice today. Get him out there. At least every single week, it's been limited practice at some point. If he goes to DNP again, I'll be concerned about him, lining up and suiting up to play in this football game. I'm starting to have a little bit of concerns about him. We'll see how it goes. If he practices today in a limited capacity, then I won't have any worries, and I know he'll strap it up for the Sunday night game against the Colts.
Agreed with you there. I'm definitely a little concerned, especially with the weather stuff. If the weather continues at the rate it's going now, not great field conditions, and you got a guy dealing with some knee stuff. Doesn't make me feel good. Doesn't make me feel good as a guy who also dealt with knee things. Nothing to what he's dealing with right now. Right. Actually, that's technically not true because it was a torn meniscus. But I'm not an athlete playing at the level that Javon Kinlaw is, nor was I ever playing at that type of level. And so it can't be a comfortable situation to be in, and with the weather conditions, it isn't gonna make that any easier for him. So yeah, definitely some concern. Hopefully he can get a limited practice in, because if he can, less questions, less concerns.
Yeah,
feeling better about the D line and just what's going on there, especially with the news that Quentin Nelson is practicing and apparently may be good to go this week, maybe playing. It's looking like he's gonna be. That's a huge get for them. And if we're not able to have Javon Kinlaw out there going up against him at certain times in space, especially with Mo Hurst now popping up on the injury report, having a limited practice with the calf issue, get a little thin there in the middle. Get a little thin.
Yeah, I think if Mo Hurst isn't able to play, then you're really thin. If you don't have Kinlaw and Hurst, that really hurts the interior defensive line. And you have to start thinking about using Armstead and playing him inside sometimes, maybe Arden Key or Samson Ebicom, depending on situation. You're going to have to change your rotation. The thing is, we still have Zach Kerr. We have had him inactive for the last couple games, but you can still use him, and you can put him in there, and he can fill a role for you. So we still have options. That's one of the good things about having an absolutely deep defensive line.
It's true.
Is that when these things arise, you have people that are going to be able to go in there and execute. But yeah, if you were losing Kinlaw and Maurice Hurst, I would be concerned about the interior part of this defensive line going against a very, very stout offensive line for the Colts that has an intent on being physical and running the football. And if they're going to move the football against you, especially on the interior, that's going to be a long day for the 49ers. That's not what they do well. Their linebackers like to operate from sideline to sideline, and it's not all about getting right up there and getting nasty. The only one that does it at a high level is Fred Warner.
True.
And then the other guys struggle. So It's already going to be interesting with Michael Kendricks possibly playing more snaps this week, as the Colts definitely put them in base 4-3 sets and try to run the football. I'm hoping Kinlaw plays. I'm hoping Hurst plays, and I am optimistic that both will.
I'm optimistic too. There's no reason to think that even if Kinlaw doesn't get a limited practice in, that he won't be able to go. I think that Cardinals week, he got only a limited day on that Friday. He was a DNP the rest of the way through. They're doing the best they can to manage him. He is coming off of a bye, so let's not forget that either. They may just be being extra cautious with him coming off of this bye in terms of just letting him rest, giving him as much rest time as humanly possible, knowing that they can get him a limited day in or some limited work over the weekend leading up into this game to get him ready to go and getting him healthy and ready to play. Kinlaw's been in the system before. It's not like he doesn't understand what a game plan is or how it's implemented or what Jamycal Ryans expects. This won't be the first time that he's had very limited snaps during the week and then still being able to go and play at a really good level in games. Despite Kinlaw not being healthy, and we talked about this in yesterday's daily, right? With this whole Kinlaw situation, development being stunted per se, or at least not developing at the rate because of the knee injury, and he's still done an incredible job of helping to change the run game and the run fits with his D-line and how they've been able to slow the run game down. Since he's been back in the lineup, the defense has played at a much higher level in terms of slowing down the run game. Having him against a team that wants to run the ball as much as the Colts do is huge. We got to have him out there.
I think people too are not understanding the amount of development he's had in playing against double team. We've watched the All-22 film, and this guy consistently gets double teamed on rundowns.
Almost everyone,
and he's able to somewhat stymie it. You got some of the other guys that are giving up room, they're giving up yardage. He, for the most part, takes on double team and is able to hold his ground. And that is invaluable when you're talking about a defensive lineman. It's huge, and that's what they need because they're not getting that from Street. They're not getting that from Hurst. Those guys aren't able to hold the fort and hold the ground as long as he does. So, I mean, are we not getting the production we would like in the pass rush numbers? Yeah, but Javon Kinlaw wasn't brought to San Francisco to be a pass rusher. He was brought to be the opposite of what Buckner was, which Buckner was not very good against the run, was fantastic against the pass. They brought in Kinlaw to be very good against the run and then start to develop his pass game to how he could get in pass rush because the guys that are made to pass rush are all around him. Armstead, Bosa, Ford, Ebukam. All those guys are there to do that, and he's there to eat up double teams. That's his job. He knows what his role is. That's what he's supposed to do. So if you're expecting him to get huge sack numbers, then you're going to view him as a bust. If you want to see him do the dirty work that he's been doing, you're going to know he's doing a pretty good job. And that is what they brought him in for. That is what Chris Kasarik wants from him. And as his game develops, the sack numbers will come, but they're never going to exceed the numbers that people want. He's never going to put up Bosa numbers. He's never going to put up Ford numbers. He's an interior defensive lineman in a league and with a team that doesn't play that style of defense. He's going to be just fine. 6 sacks, something like that. Even when he gets his numbers right, is going to be just fine for Javon Kinlaw.
Look, the best part is too is that teams know this. Despite Kinlaw not being healthy, they're still doubling him
a lot.
Even on pass downs, they're sending doubles his way sometimes. Teams are not willing to let this guy single up rush, bully his way through, and collapse that pocket down. They're just not willing to. And in the run game, they're definitely not willing to let him go one-on-one, and we've seen why. There's been times where he's completely stymied a guy and taken away cutback angles because he just eats up that single guy in space, and they just can't afford it. You can't afford to do it if you want to get any sort of run game established against Javon Kinlaw. And we kept talking about how he could have that type of impact. And it's been nice to see. It's been nice to see that. It'd be even better if he was healthy. It'd be even better if he would have been able to develop the certain techniques and aspects of his game that would have taken his play to another level. But as of right now, he's fulfilling a team role. It's not a me role. It's not a selfish role. It's not a stat role. He's fulfilling a team role. Hey, go out there. When they go one-on-one, you dominate, you roll, you don't get pushed off your spot, you disrupt the rush, and you collapse that pocket. Collapse it. And when they double team you, don't you dare give up ground, my guy. Don't you dare give up ground and get pushed back. Does he win every single one of them? No, but he's winning more often than he's losing, and that's huge for this 49ers defense because it allows those linebackers to come up free in space. It's allowing guys like Jaquiski Tart and Jimmy Ward to step up in the box as well as make tackles, and when K1 was healthy, the same thing.
Well, and that's part of it, right? I mean, the thing that he's really missing is the lateral movement. That's what this injury limits him from being able to do is the quickness that we saw sometimes last year where he would get quick around somebody. But you're right. One of the things that's being overlooked is the fact that these defensive linemen eating up, these double teams. And a lot of times they're giving up too much ground and getting pushed into linebackers.
True.
Kinlaw doesn't do that very often, which means when that happens, one of these guys are free to find the open window, get up there and make the play. That's what these linebackers want. It's not always a pretty job. Defensive linemen are not always expected to make the play. They're expected to make the defensive play. The defensive play is to stymie that double team, stuff it there, allow your linebacker free room to make the tackle, and they do pretty often. That is why Azeez Al-Shaair's been playing better. That's why Fred Warner operates a lot of times when he's clean as all-pro Fred. They can't do that without these defensive linemen taking on those double teams, but we do need a little bit better from some of the rotational pieces. They need to take these double teams on better. They can't give up ground. As long as they do, the 49ers can stop the Indianapolis Colts.
Absolutely, they definitely can, and we need them to play at a high level this week.
Oh, yeah.
We need them to slow this run game down, put them into negative game scripts, and let's get after Carson Wentz as much as humanly possible. It's huge. It's huge for this team. It's huge in this game. Limited practice yesterday, me. Jimmy Garoppolo, Marcel Harris still dealing with the thumb stuff. Obviously, he's going to be dealing with it all year because it was broken. It was freaking broken. And then Maurice Hurst, that was the surprise one. It's a calf thing. Kyle's not really given too much out there yet with it. It's a new thing that's kind of popped up. They're not quite sure yet where it's at. He was going to kind of update everyone a little bit more today to kind of just see where he is. But the good news of those limited practice participants, they expect Jimmy Garoppolo to be 100% by Sunday. Not, 50%, not 75%, not 80%, not 99.99%, 100%. Great news.
Yeah, it's awesome news. It's 100% of whatever 100% actually is, because there's no way he's 100%.
Thank you.
But I think what he's saying is he's 100% full to go to be able to play. And
there's no questions.
Yeah, and as long as he's able to plant off that back foot and really drive the football, I'm excited about the opportunity to get him out there and take advantage of this Colts secondary, who's got some weaknesses and had some injuries along the way. And let's see how they attack it. This could be the week. Brandon Ayuk was open last week. Brandon Ayuk was missed. Let's see if Jimmy Garoppolo is that quarterback that's able to get him the football. Jimmy Garoppolo is not able to get him the football. You find somebody else that can. But I think that right now they're going to get it done. I think that Jimmy's going to come in and they're going to execute. I look for the rhythm to be a lot more like Seattle was, in that first drive, where you just really seen them clicking on all cylinders. It felt like they could hit everything they wanted to do, and Jimmy was taking the reins. I know everyone is calling for this to be a big-time run game, and I think there's going to be an opportunity for that. I don't think people are wrong, but I think there's also an opportunity for this 49ers offense to attack this Colts defense and secondary and take advantage of it the way they did Seattle, because I don't think there's a huge fear of the pass rush. Besides Buckner, I'm not scared of the Colts, pass rush. I think this offensive line can hold up, give Jimmy clean pockets, and he has clean pockets and able to drive off his back leg. Jimmy Garoppolo's going to be successful. He's a good quarterback. He's going to be able to handle business, and the 49ers are going to be able to handle business.
You mean to tell me, Ant, that Kwity Paye isn't necessarily the guy that everyone thought he was going to be coming out of the draft, and that we may have been right?
Yes.
Oh, shocked, Ant. I'm shocked.
Yeah, no, anyone that watched our draft coverage knows we were not huge fans of Kwity Paye. And, from everything we've heard from other people as well, Kwity Paye is a project.
Yeah. Maybe they'll find out a little bit more about that tonight. Who knows? Maybe that's the topic of conversation.
Maybe.
Who knows? Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But, Ant, huge news that could impact this game drastically. You talked about, the Niners being able to take advantage of this weakened Colts secondary. It just got even weaker because apparently Julian Blackmon tore his Achilles at the end of practice on Wednesday.
Man.
We saw limited come up across the timeline, and we talked about the limited practice for him. It said Achilles, and I was like, Achilles? Well, something must have happened, or they must have known something was going on. No. He went through a full practice just A-okay. In a non-contact situation, he tears his Achilles right at the end of practice. Whoa. I mean, talk about a huge blow to that secondary that's already dealing with a lot of injuries. That's not good.
No, it's not. I mean, it's really not. And you got a guy that we talked about yesterday. The way that they presented it was like he had just gotten hurt, so he had limited practice. We were kind of thinking it was something else, maintenance-wise. Unfortunate, but, players get hurt in this league, and non-contact injuries seem to be the trend right now. That's lower leg, lower extremity injuries, Achilles, ACLs, MCLs. All that stuff is something that's going to happen. And we discussed this a little bit in length yesterday about the way the league is trending. But what this means for the Colts is the 49ers are going to have more opportunities, because this guy is one of their better safeties and one of their better back end players, and he really stabilized that secondary. And now they've got more questions. So that's why part of the reason that I went into the fact that I believe Jimmy Garoppolo in this 49ers pass game can have success against the Colts, because there's going to be opportunities to do that down the field. And now also in the run fits as well, because they expect some of these safeties to play and be, very successful in run fits. And now you're missing one of those key cogs. Yeah, you'll probably have Sendejo back. He's coming back from the concussion.
But even Sendejo, technically, he started off the year as a backup for them. He's not even their traditional starter. So, I mean, you're rolling now with a full makeshift. I mean, you got a full patchwork safety room now that you have, including a couple guys that they signed. I don't even know who they are. They signed to the roster this week to kind of help them get some more additional depth there. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens, right? The injury bug strikes. Whether if you go on 49ers Twitter, you think it only happens in San Francisco, but it does actually happen everywhere around the league. People get injured, and it's unfortunate that this happened. I feel for the player. He's he's out there, he's trying to make a living for his family, and he doesn't want to get hurt. And now he's going to have to go through an entire year of getting back from an Achilles, which is crazy.
That's a full rehab process, and Achilles injuries, it usually takes a little bit longer than a year.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of extra time. You can come back in a year, but you're not necessarily the same guy right when you come back. It takes you an additional year to really get your body to where it needs to be to perform at the level you want it to. It takes extra time. This is huge. It's a huge injury for the Colts that were already decimated in the secondary with injuries. The pass rush already isn't something that is a strength that Indianapolis Colts team. So now you're putting even more pressure and more strain on that secondary to perform and do the things it needs to, and really step up. And outside of their two core linebackers there's some questions in that Colts linebacking room. So you're the 49ers now, you have a variety of ways you can attack. You can go 3-4 wide receiver sets, put them into nickel situations and be like, all right, let's see if you guys can protect the half of the field and not make boo-boo errors here in terms of coverage. You can also load it up, right, and go a couple tight ends and do some other things. And we'll dive into a little bit more of that in depth for tomorrow's daily when we go over the game plan and what it could look like for the 49ers. But this opens up a whole new area of attack avenues for Kyle Shanahan. He's got to be sitting there now going, oh man, I got a buffet of options and choices here of what I want to do. And the onus now is on these 49ers wide receivers, man. They got to step up.
Yeah, I think that ultimately what Kyle's going to want to do is just get in a rhythm, whether that is attacking, through the run game or through the pass game. But these give him opportunities, and anytime you can scheme it up to put, a player that has a very good skill set against, a defensive player that is not able to match that skill set, you're going to do it. I think Friday's practice is interesting. Now today's practice is going to be fun because I'm sure Kyle has a few little tweaks after hearing this. They're going to have a few matchup changes, and this is ultimately where they kind of hammer down what the game plan is, and they're going to get out there and do it. And I'm excited to see what they end up coming up with on Sunday, because this is big news, and it's unfortunate for the Colts, and it's not so unfortunate for the 49ers as a team that's lived through injuries in the past. You just got to line up the next guy and go play for it, but it's tough whenever you lose a player that's been contributing to your team at a high level.
100%, man. 100%. But in returning news, in positive news for 49ers and just injuries in general for the Colts, so we have, our hearts do go out to you. As 2020, we all know how bad injuries can be and how much it can decimate a football team. So Colts, hopefully you can get healthy and stay healthy for the rest of the year. That would be great for you guys. We don't like seeing injuries around here, and 49ers fans don't like seeing injuries, period, at all, especially when it's the 49ers. But Jamycal Hasty, that practice window was opened. Things are looking good and trending well. Kyle is very promised with what Jamycal Hasty has shown so far and what he's doing. Also, news about Kevin Givens. Finally, some Kevin Givens news, Ant. He's expected back next week, so it looks like they're going to open that practice window up, let this man roll next week, and we're going to get him back in week 8.
Yeah, and then they're going to have to make some roster decisions.
Yeah, that's right.
It's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out, whether that is a defensive lineman release. It might not be. You never know what's going to happen, with Hurst. So we could get a little bit of change of scenery for both of them. They could be flipping spaces. We don't know. But there's a lot of decisions roster-wise the 49ers still have to make. I think they have some wiggle room in certain areas where they've loaded up on talent, and now they're going to have to bring another guy back. But that's good news for the 49ers, because anytime you can improve that defensive line, which is already in a strength, you do it. Kevin Givens is a pretty good pass rusher. So getting him out there, you could probably pull Kinlaw off the field on obvious pass downs a little bit more often. And that's a good news for the 49ers. Just, continue that rotation, continue having, these guys in there fresh, getting fresh snaps against all these other offensive.
100%, man. 100%. It would be absolutely great. You're still going to have Jordan Willis coming back here not too long from now. It's very, very close.
Real close.
The hour is upon us, and not the witching hour, but the hour is upon us for Jordan Willis, and that's going to lead to even more roster decisions and moves that need to be made on top of all the trade rumors that are going on right now for the 49ers. It's just a lot of positive things trending the way of this team currently. And even Mike McDaniels was talking a little bit about this because they were asking him, hey, how ready are you guys for Sunday night yesterday? And he said, I want the game to be right now. I wish it was right now. The team's hungry. He said they had a sour taste in their mouth over this last month of what's been going on and what's been happening. And we just need to get out there and take care of business, essentially. They're really looking forward to it. This team is highly motivated. And you know what, Ant? Not surprised because the comments all week from 49ers players have been essentially that, right? We got to execute better. We can do this. We got the pieces in-house. We don't need to go trade for anybody. We can do this. This group right here as it's currently constructed can get the job done. You and I both believe that. Some 49ers fans still believe that. Some believe you have to make some changes in certain areas and other things, whether that's coaches, whether that's certain players playing. But look, the reality of the situation is this team believes in itself still. You're only 2-3. You're one game away from being back in 500. And then you're one more game after that to being back in front over 500, sitting at 4-3, heading into that Cardinals game there in week 9 and having a chance to not only get a big win against the NFC West opponent, but put yourselves at 1-2 in the division, get yourself 2 games above 500, potentially hand the Cardinals either their first loss or consecutive losses, depending on what happens the week before, and really start to change the tide of the season and what's happening.
Yeah, and you know what? If Arizona did beat Green Bay, then that means the 49ers are inching closer to Green Bay as far as seeding in the playoffs, and that's what you're trying to do. Keep scratching and clawing to keep up there with the Saints, and the Panthers and those guys. That's what it's about. But yeah, every game is pivotal right now, and if the 49ers can figure a way to bounce back, which we both think they can because they have the talent, they just haven't been able to execute consistently. If they get consistent play from these players, and it looks like the players have the right mindset, then they're going to be able to get this done. And the Colts game is the first step in that. If you don't win the Colts game, none of it matters, right? But if you win the Colts game, you can start building that momentum, build it into the Chicago game on Halloween, and then ultimately that matchup with Arizona, which could completely change the season for the 49ers. If the 49ers go from 2-3 to 5-3 in the next 3 games, it does change the outlook on the 49ers season and their chances to make the playoffs.
100%, man. 100%. I wanted to talk about one last comment that McDaniels had from his presser yesterday because it was really exciting to hear him say it. I love the way that he said the phrasing. He was asked about Jalen Moore and his state of readiness, and the direct quote was, "Oh, he's ready to play NFL football, and he's built to last and be a very good player in the NFL for a long time." And I got goosebumps when I read that the first time. Then I had to go back and watch the presser because I wanted to hear McDaniels say it in a very McDaniels type way. Jalen Moore has impressed all preseason. Jalen Moore impressed in his little bit of snaps that he got when Trent Williams went down in that Arizona Cardinals game. There's been all this talk about Aaron Banks, right? Aaron Banks being the guy pushing for that spot at guard. If they're so convinced that Jalen Moore is that kind of guy right now, could you see them, if Brunskill continues struggling, going to him first before they go to someone like Banks?
Yeah, or Tom Compton.
Okay.
I think they're going to put the player they feel is the best out there. I think they feel that Jalen Moore can play successful NFL snaps. However, I believe they've been preparing him to play tackle this whole entire time, and they think that he can be a very solid tackle in this league. He's a swing tackle for the 49ers. I think that's where they're keeping his focus. They're not worried about him playing guard right now. I mean, maybe they should. Maybe that's a move they can make. Do I think he could do it? Absolutely, I do. I think he could get it done. But I think his comments are more he's ready to play NFL football as he's a capable NFL player, then he's ready to start over one of these guys that they deem as a starter right now. So I don't know how everyone's going to take that. I mean, it's good news. It's good news that he's ready and able, but I think we knew that from what we saw. Mike McDaniels is turning around and telling everyone an absolute obvious statement, and we'll see what happens with it.
It's obviously it's Mike McDaniel. It's the way Mike McDaniel says the things that he says and the way that he says them. He's a funny guy. He's a unique guy. He's a quirky guy.
He is,
and I love every bit.
Oh, I love his pressers. They're great.
His pressers are some of my favorite press conferences. Yeah. Hey, maybe that's why certain Thanoses of the world want to. Maybe they want Kyle Shanahan to be more like Mike McDaniels and less like Kyle Shanahan, I guess.
Maybe. I don't know. There's only one Kyle Shanahan. There's only one Mike McDaniel.
I cannot get enough of that laugh. That Kyle Shanahan chuckle is one of my all-time favorite things. But Cutback Crew, let us know about all of this whole episode, all of the news, all the information, the huge Julian Blackmon injury, potentially Quentin Nelson coming back for the Colts and being available in the roster this week. We want to hear from you about all of it. Let us know in the comment section down below. You worried about Kinlaw? You worried about Trent Williams? You know, are you not worried about any of this? The 49ers are going to take care of business, whether it's rain, snow, it won't be snow, wind, sleet, volcanoes erupting and pouring onto the field at Levi's. I know that's crazy. I don't even know how that would happen. But are you worried about weather conditions at all? Or is it, shut up and play football. This team can get it done. Let us know about it. And while you're down there commenting away, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell and be around for the rest of the Friday Frenzy. We got What's Good with Jay and the Bay coming up, as well as Know Your Opponent.
Yep, it's going to be a nice docket of stuff still coming up. And then Saturday, don't forget that there's going to be the daily video where we go over the game plan for the 49ers. And if you're on Patreon, you get the preview show of we're actually breaking down the Colts against the Texans. So you definitely want to check those out if you have the opportunity. But yeah, this is going to be exciting. I don't think weather is ultimately that big on their mind, but you do have to prepare for it. I'm sure the 49ers have been playing practice with a little bit of wet footballs this week just to get prepared. It's a little bit different. It's heavier. It spins a little bit different. You have to be ready for it, but I think they can be. And I don't expect it to be some sort of monsoon or anything. So I think we'll be okay. But Sunday Night Football can't get here quick enough, and the 49ers need to get this W.
Get this W, guys. This is a huge week for San Francisco. It's also a huge week for the Colts. This is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tight game. And Cutback Crew, it's going to be dandy. It's going to be swell, Ant. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see you on the next one. And until that time, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.